The beauty of using a teleprompter properly is it allows you to really connect with your audience by maintaining eye contact while at the same time using a calculated script to ensure you nail the story of your video. And the best part is, if you do it right, nobody will even notice. Since every good story has a framework, if you don't use a good framework to tell your story, you're swimming against the current. In my last video, I talked about why using a teleprompter was a game changer in helping me grow my YouTube channels. So in this video, I want to talk about how to use a teleprompter properly so it comes across as natural while allowing you to reap the benefits of planning ahead. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but as much as I love Linus Tech Tip videos, it's so obvious that he's reading from a teleprompter. I find it terribly distracting. It's like he never makes eye contact as his eyes are darting back and forth. I mean, the fact that he uses a teleprompter, even though it's obvious, is a testament to just how vital a tool it is for his YouTube efforts. I just wish he used it a little better. Did I just throw shade at LTT? Don't hurt me, Linus. There are 3 important things you need to do while reading from a teleprompter to make it seem like you aren't reading from a screen at all. Number 1, write your script how you would talk normally. Number 2, sit at the correct distance from your teleprompter and make sure you have the correct margins. And number 3, act through your script with enthusiasm. Let's dive into each one. Number 1, writing your script in a manner in which you talk is very important. We aren't writing essays here, we aren't writing papers for school. This is for your eyes only, so you can do it in any way that works for you. Here's how I write for me. I use punctuation and capitalization to help tell the story and to remind myself during the writing process where I want to add emphasis while I'm recording. So anytime I see a ... like that, I know there's a pause. Anytime I see something in all caps, I know that's where I should use enthusiasm with my voice or gestures to help get the point across. I also often use short sentences or paragraphs so that I don't drone on for too long. Because once you get used to video editing, you can clip the dead air so that it flows nicely. I mentioned a good framework in the beginning, and that is something to be mindful of when writing the script. A simple framework could be the beginning, middle, and end to a story. I like to focus more on a problem, establish credibility, then offer a solution type framework for my videos. For example, with this video, right away I identify the problem being how to use a teleprompter without anyone noticing. I use my content to show that I'm doing this throughout the video and that it looks good and natural, which establishes credibility. Then I offer a solution to the problem I identified at the beginning of the video. See, if you try and do that without writing it out ahead of time, it's going to be way harder to follow that framework. Don't get me wrong, some people are natural storytellers, but I am not. So this allows me to capture every point I want in the story without boring my audience by talking for too long. Number 2, so we've got our script. Before we deliver it, we have to set up our space so that our audience won't even know we're using a teleprompter. This is why I choose to use a 24mm lens, because it allows me to sit close enough in front of the camera where I can operate it with my hands if I need to, but more importantly, allows me to sit close enough to my teleprompter that I can keep the font small-ish and centered to the middle of the lens. A lot of people buy these huge teleprompters and use their iPads for their scripts, and I think this is a bad idea unless you do it right. I prefer to use a smaller teleprompter and to just use my phone. I also set pretty wide margins on the sides so my eyes aren't darting back and forth. As long as you set the speed properly, you should be able to talk at a pace that sounds natural without it looking like you're reading at all. I do have a remote out of the shot, which I often use to quickly scroll back up and redo a paragraph, because sometimes the paragraphs you write ahead of time just don't make sense, or you whiff on your delivery and you have to do it a few times. It's no big deal, but it happens. A remote is nice for that, but I also love sitting this close because I can quickly just touch the screen on my phone and swipe to redo that paragraph again. If you are using a giant iPad and a huge teleprompter, you might want to use a wider lens instead and sit closer. If that's not an option, set large margins on your iPad, even if it looks ridiculous, because it's just so distracting when it looks like people are reading. I don't know, I personally find it very disingenuous. And number 3, this is the fun part, acting through your script. I understand a lot of people aren't comfortable in front of a camera or think they don't talk with enthusiasm. Let me tell you something. None of us are at first. It's something you have to practice. Start noticing creators moving forward. The ones who are the most entertaining are the ones who use their bodies to communicate. They might have signature moves. Do you know this guy? The guy who does this move? It's his move. You watch his channel and he does it all the times. Do I have a move? Is it this? The point is, the more you practice with your script and using a teleprompter, the better you get at using your body to help tell your story. Whether it's moving your hands or using expressions while you talk, it really engages with the audience, which is why you can make things easier for yourself during the script writing process by using punctuation, etc., to help remind yourself where to add emphasis. Here's a little tip. If your teleprompter speed is too slow and you're waiting for it to catch up, which happens a lot, hold your gestures while you are talking. Don't move. Through the beauty of video editing, you can easily get rid of pauses in your video by editing them out and no one will be the wiser. For example, if I'm thinking or talking in between points or sentences, I always make sure to hold that body position while talking so it'll blend seamlessly with the next sentence while I'm video editing. Does that make sense? Here's me doing a big pause, then continuing talking. Let me do that same thing again, but I'll edit out the pause. Here's me doing a big pause, then continuing talking. Could you even notice the pause that time? Felt pretty normal, right? Like, would anyone even notice if I pause like that between every single sentence? As you get better at reading scripts, you understand that you can take pauses for big sections and make it look like you didn't even break at all. It's awesome. So you can probably tell I'm a huge fan of using a teleprompter. It has been such a big part of growing my YouTube channels and I wanted to share it with you. I honestly don't think I would be able to create videos like this without it. I know there are some channels who don't use teleprompters. Some people are just naturally talented in front of a camera. I'm not. But instead of not creating content or worrying about that, I found a way that makes me even more confident. So if you're like me, I highly encourage you to try using a teleprompter in your videos and to see if it helps you too. One last thing. Earlier I mentioned using a good framework to use while writing your scripts. There's one more piece to the framework I like to use, and that is adding a call to action. So while writing a script for YouTube, I might use bullet points ahead of time to map out the framework, what my problem is, why people should listen to me, the solution I want to share with them, but then you need to finish with the call of action. I did the first 3 things in this video already, so let me show you how I will call you to action. In this video, I talked about how to use a teleprompter properly, which is only one piece of the puzzle. In my next video, I will tell you what I think the best teleprompter is, and I'll share what app to use on your phone or iPad to make it super easy. And the good news is the app I use is awesome and it's free. When it's ready, I will link that video here, so be sure to check it out so you aren't buying the wrong gear or using the wrong apps. And in case you missed my last video where I talk about why using a teleprompter is so important, you can watch that here. See you next time on the SAD Studio.